Let's see here. We're streaming like it's hot. Oh, look at that. Let's see. Okay.
You know the words? Okay.
That's the coolest part.
Are we live?
We are live.
Oh, hi everybody.
We are live.
This is the Eugene and Dylan Guitar Show, and I'm Eugene Edwards over here, and that's
right.
Dr. Dylan Caligiuri right over there. And if
Hello,
it wasn't
hello.
right over there, I wouldn't be able to point at him.
No, you wouldn't.
Which is impolite.
You wouldn't.
So,
although it could be AI.
Now, I
be
think
AI.
at the time you came up with the title of today's show, it was raining here in Los Angeles.
It was,
and then it
stopped.
It stopped. I went. You and I were both although not together, but we were separately hiking.
That's right.
My daughter and I went up to Descanso Gardens.
Beautiful.
Gorgeous.
Oh my
day.
God.
A beautiful day. But it got us thinking, music is hello. We see you. We hear you. Dave, thank you so much, Dave. That's the most validating thing anyone could possibly say. Hi, Eileen, out there in the kind of the eastern part of the country. And no, Dave, Dylan doesn't have a new guitar. He's had this Les Paul for a while. I've been playing it the past couple of episodes, though. Anyway, thank you, John. Those harmonies. We didn't really practice that.
I got that, Dave.
We got the any oozles. We were talking about rain delay riffs.
Yeah.
But that had me thinking music that evokes like the feel of rain.
Yeah.
And I use on IG or somewhere, one of the ads, we use Led Zeppelin's The Rain Song, although I don't, and it does kind of have a bit of a rainy feel. I was thinking about other riffs and licks and just chord sequences that make me kind of like associate with rainy feeling and just kind of gray, and which by
is
the way,
like one of my favorite musical feelings.
And I love rainy weather. Now, before you start throwing things at the screen, understand, which camera am I looking at, by the way? Is it that one?
That one.
Okay,
yeah,
thank God.
Yeah.
I grew up in the southwestern desert of Arizona, and then I lived in Los Angeles since 1996. So I don't really have to deal with a lot of rain in my life. So please, I'm spoiled, but I do like the rain. I like, when it's a really gray day, I feel as though I've been given license to just drink coffee for 8 hours straight.
Yeah,
and it's like socially acceptable.
Yeah, well, because otherwise you'd be you'd be an anxious mess.
Right? Yeah. But not on a rainy day.
Not on a rainy day, baby.
So I was thinking about. So now, So why did you choose Blackwater by Doobie Brothers?
Because one just has the word water in it, and also there's just if I want you guys to picture this for a moment, and I see that one, John, and I could totally see that.
Yeah.
So if you are picking up a guitar on a rainy day, right, and you're turning off talk radio or the news or whatever it is that's destroying your life, and you pick up a guitar and enjoy some music for a change, it's like there's just like material that comes to your mind that's going to lend itself to accepting the mood of the rain.
Okay.
There's hibernation that this material offers.
Yeah.
Another big one for me, I know I quote this song too much, but like what's the name of the song?
Night Moves by Bob Seger.
That one, even like for some reason,
he mentions the sound. He mentions hearing the sound of thunder.
Thank you.
And by one of my rainy day riffs It's funny you mentioned Seeger because I this was in my head. I wasn't going to mention it, but I've always thought I think the melody and food, the melody and feel. Although he is sitting at a diner in this song, but
oh yeah,
down on Main Street.
Yeah,
I don't think he mentions the weather at all, but I see it's raining outside and he's in the diner looking at the waitress. It's just mood. I was thinking of. Now, of course, Zeppelin's "The Rain Song," which I had learned when I was a kid in standard tuning, and I didn't know Jimmy was using an open tuning, so I learned this but it does. Notice this opening.
Courageous.
Shouldn't have bent that B string earlier. Anyway, apparently the song was inspired. I guess George Harrison was at a party and he bumped into Robert Plant, or one of the members of Led Zeppelin, and George Harrison kind of mentions, says, the thing is, you guys aren't on the radio much, though. I mean, you guys have been doing well. You're a couple albums in, but you don't really have any proper love songs. And so they wrote this, and think about it. It's this G major, then G major 7. G major dominant 7, and then it does this really weird move to the flat 6. But also think about it though. Think about George Harrison's big ballad is Something, which is C major 7, C dominant 7. So they're kind of quoting or it's a little bit of a tribute to Harrison or an in joke, like, okay, here's our love song.
Yeah.
But another speaking of George Harrison, here's a real classic rainy feel. It's the opening cut on All Things Must Pass, which is I'd Have You Anytime. And Clapton actually plays the lead guitar on this thing beautifully. But it starts with this G major 7, then B flat major 7, C minor,
wow, that's a good tone for that.
So it's just these weird, but I notice, again, major 7s, just like the Rain Song.
Yeah.
Black Water has this A minor 7 to D major. Also, Black Water's got this really cool that when it goes to G major, it goes to a B flat, but one of the guitars has an E natural.
Right. So it's got a flat 5
That's
in it.
really interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to think like these rainy day feeling chords. I think about like What's Going On. Major 7th, minor 7th, putting the 7th in your chords. I think 7th, especially minor 7ths and major 7ths.
They spell complexity.
I think they just give me that forecast of rain sort of thing. 10,000 Maniacs, Like the Weather, is a good one. Gosh, I used to play that one in high school.
I used to have that tape.
That one will come back to me.
So
wait, Riders on the Storm. Actually, we hear a sound effect of rain. They use I think it's just like from a library of sound, but they actually put also notice in that one Ray Manzarek, I never know how to pronounce his name, the keyboardist. He does this beautiful. I think it's a Dorian mode. The it's where he puts the 6 that really helps create this. I'm thinking note choices have a lot to do with this rainy feel. Hello guys, it's too on the nose, but Songs About Rain by Gary Allan kind of, yeah, you're right. Gary Allan kind of just like went right to it in a song. But let's see. I want to make sure I don't pass anybody's.
So another one of
Rainy
mine
Days and Mondays by the Carpenters.
Let's see if you recognize stuff.
Where'd the tuner go? All right, continue, sir. Is that what I think it is? Ooh, baby, guess a week ago today, last Wednesday, the reason we didn't do a show, I was flying to Kalamazoo, Michigan. Who was I sitting behind on the flight from LA to Detroit? Smokey Robinson.
Oh, really?
I met Smokey Robinson. Finally met Smokey Robinson.
Was he in coach?
We were not. No, he was not the coach. But I didn't want to brag about where I was sitting. It doesn't matter that I was flying.
It's cool
first
that they
class.
got you a business seat, though.
It wasn't a business seat. I had one of them. I had an actual cubicle.
Those are amazing, aren't they?
It was a Delta airline. You know, y'all ever? I didn't want to leave. Fly from LA to Detroit. I didn't want to leave the plane.
Can I tell you guys the secret if you guys want to fly? The only time...
Anyway, Smokey says hi.
Smokey, couldn't you really... So if you want to fly first class, fly standby. I've done it many times. Standby. And I realize you're thinking, well, I actually want to go where I'm supposed to go, Dylan. And it's like, I get it, and I totally understand your concern. However, I've never flown standby and failed to get on the plane. That's been my luck so far. But
Interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, I went to London first class. Like these like they bring
Long
out piping hot pajamas for you. They don't screw around. You have your own guy.
Let's see. In Oregon, every song is a rainy day song, says Merrily. Purple Rain. There you go. See, no, it's an ad to. No, not ad to. Sorry, sus.
I can't remember the lyrics though.
I never meant to cause you pain. And then the 4-chord with the B flat and the bass. Yeah, and it's great because he gave Wendy like that Rickenbacker that she plays on that, and it has flat wounds on it.
Yeah,
for funk,
which is
it was like heavy gauge flat wounds.
That part makes sense.
And it's the chorus, but it's also like just the weight of those strings really makes her rhythm part really it's really her playing is so good on it, and her tone is so great on Purple Rain.
Yeah,
you know, the rhythm track there. I Love a Rainy Night by Eddie Rabbitt. There you go. Yes, I am the jet setter. Exactly. He forced that out of me.
Do you often fly first class?
Let's just talk about something.
Oh wow! Hey, wow.
So I was for questions for the chat. So when it is a kind of a rainy day, and you maybe you grab your couch guitar, hopefully, or something like that. What are some things that you tend to do? You notice, guys, that you tend to play certain things when it's kind of cloudy and rainy? I'd be interested in that because that's why because I'd Have You Anytime by George Harrison comes, but I realize like I'm usually just doing a lot of things with minor seventh chords.
Yeah. What about when you're improvising on a rainy day?
Oh,
because I know what my
what do you do?
Type of go. Well, so if it's not finger style, so I would be doing a lot of.
Oh, you're looking for little half step.
Absolutely, I'd be looking for little dirty spots where I can get into trouble, and also just like ways I could take single chords and turn them into. This would be like E, F sharp.
Who knows what this is?
Well, this is F sharp 7 over E. So it's like the fourth inversion of an F sharp 7. I know.
What?
F sharp 7 over E. But the main thing I would be doing if I was playing more single note stuff would be like diads. So.
Now, by the way, that little thing you did right there, if I may, it was pentatonic-ish.
Right.
And there's something about that it's like the sound of raindrops. There's a drip drop. Well, that's very, very. Hey, you know what? Walk them through that.
Sure.
Walk them through that. And what's your what?
So basically, this would be like thirds descending. So you have the first third.
The first two notes. Wait, the first two notes.
I'm sorry,
you play,
fourths descending.
They're fourths. No. Just play the first two. You're going too fast. That is
I'm in the key B minor.
A fourth of
That's
an
a
interval. The first note is a D natural at the 10th fret, right? And then you go down. Okay. So if you want to invoke the sound of rain while you're kind of playing a solo, think of fourths. Something like that.
So now, the chord to play over the top of that. Play a
sorry.
C major 7 sharp 11.
What's with the sharp 11?
Can you hear it?
Well, can I put the 7th on top?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And then go to B minor. Back. That's a hip sound. That is a hip sound. It's the Lydian sound, but with a spaced scale.
It is very, yeah. I was thinking it's kind of Lydian.
It's the 7th, the 2nd, the 3rd, the sharp 4, the 6th, and then major 7th.
Someone said something for some reason. Wonderful Tonight. I thought I saw. Yeah. Some Barbershop 77. There's something about the opening riff to Wonderful Tonight that suits a rainy day. Well, that's Clapton again on the Stratocaster, just like he is on I'd Have You Anytime. And you're right. There's something kind of mournful.
Is it in G? Yeah.
I wonder why. There's just something about he always has that his technique. I don't know why I'm speaking about past tense, but his technique.
He turned 80 yesterday.
Oh, hey, happy birthday! Is so smooth. His bends are smooth. He bends up to pitch very, very well. His vibrato is not only one of the reasons it's smooth, that it's actually in time with tempo.
So I have trouble explaining to students why, especially younger kids, why Eric Clapton is such a big, important part of guitar. Because they're like, I don't know, I hear mistakes, and I go, okay. Because I hear a lot of mistakes in your playing. So I'm just throw that out there. But
I
don't hear a lot of mistakes.
He seems to take his time, and he's never in a hurry.
I feel like they're mixing him and Jimmy Page up maybe or something. But anyway, so you hear, I get it. And then also, like, they think it's just not complex enough maybe. And it's like, well, okay.
We can make the case that he's not very experimental with his scale tones, let's just say.
Yeah.
I get it.
I could hear that.
He's either extremely minor pentatonic based blues sort of thing, or very lyrically, like Wonderful Tonight,
or
and the Layla,
the end solo of Layla.
At the end.
This is a major scale solo. This isn't just pentatonic playing. So I mean, there's.
I also think and I know we've probably said this before, but we also have to regard the fact that the John Mayall and the Blues Breaker albums featuring Eric Clapton, also known as the Beano album. Look that one up. He's very young. He may be 19 or 20 on it. And we, at least the British had not quite, but even just the rock generation, never heard one of their own make a guitar sound like that on a record before. The way it was, the way that guitar was, his guitar was recorded was just different for the time. It was a 50-watt Marshall combo, just pinned.
Yeah.
And the engineers scrambled to get this thing recorded well. There's a lot of literature on this, but when you hear it, you're like, oh my God, that guitar sounds amazing. It makes you want to play guitar. And if you compare it to the sound of other guitars on other rock records at the time, I mean, the Stones don't have anything that sounds that great. The Beatles don't have any guitar tones that sound there. In terms of blues rock, it really sounds like Chicago blues on this really, really big platform. You need echo and delay for rainy improv, says
call.
Michael Storms.
Yeah.
By the way, John Waby has a question about that sharp 11. He's like, is that like the blue note? Now, do you mind talking about sharp 11 a little bit?
Yeah.
First of all, explain.
It's a rainy note.
Okay, so we have key of C?
Let's go with keys.
So we have our scale tones starting from C, right? I'm just going to play the major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now 8. We've gone all the way to the top. We're now at the octave of the 1.
So now 2 is going to be the same thing as 9. 3 is going to be the same thing as 10. 4 is going to be the same thing as 11. So 11 means the 4th scale note past the octave is what it means, right?
So I started the C major scale. I kept going, and now I'm on F natural.
Right.
And since we've gone past the 8th, the octave, we're now counting this as the 11th.
That's right.
So therefore, a sharp 11
is a sharp 4, or it's the equivalent in the key of C. It'd be F sharp. Right? And when you put it past the octave, you can hear that sort of dissonance even more clearly.
Oh, but you put it inside of a chord real quickly. We normally say sharp 4, but let's just say it was a sharp 4. That means I would have been playing the F sharp right here. I'd be playing it 1, 2, 3, 4. So we get that. The sharp 11 is a larger interval. It's that.
So you can hear the dissonance more because they're more separated.
Also, but in my humble opinion,
they're more palatable.
Much more usable.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm sorry. What I mean to say is if I'm going to use an F sharp in the key of C in this case, the sharp 11, I'm going to use the sharp 11 and not the flat 5, I guess, or sharp 4. I'm going to use it here. Now, and again,
that's the concept of density and frequency. So when you have two frequencies that are closer in numeric value vibrating together, you're going to have a more dense sound. And when you have one that's like, let's say it's
a little muddier.
Right, exactly. So if you have them further apart, you can hear their individuality a lot better. And so they just function as individual pieces a lot easier.
We rarely talk about modes, but we're not frightened of them anymore, are we, kids? So you said earlier this had a Lydian.
So Lydian would be the 4 scale of major, and the characteristic of Lydian, if we're in the key of C, is a major scale with a sharp 4.
Hey, doesn't that sound familiar? Although, so we're gonna play the major scale: C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C. So that's. Now we hear the Lydian scale, not so much, although I can think of plenty of examples in pop music where we hear Lydian moments and scales, but we hear it a lot in film score. Like I always joke that, I don't even know if this happens exactly at this moment, but essentially when Elliot and E.T. and the bike lifts off, and cut across it, I'm assuming John Williams will use a Lydian scale at that point because it has this sense of wonder and mystery, and, the Beatles use it.
Optimistic unresolvedness is like what it's.
That's a good one. At the very end of the Abbey Road medley, Paul, it's that, and in the end, the love you take is equal to the you make, and it's C, and it's essentially a D major triad, but with a C in the bass. But if you look here, that means there's an F sharp. So this is a very Lydian sound right here, and so he gets this. So it's like. That's how it ends. So also another great Lydian thing I always love is Head Over Heels by Tears for Fears. Starts with this, let's see if I can, it's hard to do on a guitar and not piano.
Yeah.
We have a B flat and an E natural, which is that's a very Lydian. And then he just moves it to C, and it starts to make a little more sense. So there's examples of it. It's got a very, very mysterious feel. And David Gilmour, for a moment, brushes across a Lydian moment in the first solo in Comfortably Numb, and it's so scrumptious. He doesn't lean into it, but because it starts with a D major chord. It's mostly a D major. That's over C major. Play C major. Then the G major. C. So he's playing off this F sharp moment against that C major chord,
right?
And it's just hovering in this Lydian feel, and it's one of the things that makes that solo kind of cinematic, really,
right?
Of course, it belongs to a movie, I suppose, The Wall. But anyway,
well, so it's basically, I mean, there are entire periods of history where Lydian was the major scale. So there's periods of history where major was not the home scale and Lydian was. And
I'm sorry, I was reading notes.
Sure.
I swear to God, this is terrible. Can you repeat that for me?
So there's periods of history and composition where in the Western world, Lydian was the home scale and major actually was not the home scale. And so this concept of a sharp 4 in major is actually a really kind of like genetic experience for the human being. Like we really want to hear that sharp 4 quite a bit.
I didn't know this.
Yeah. So
I mean, are you talking? So you're talking? Okay, I know that a long time ago.
Sure.
There was no major scale. There were
right.
only modes.
Right.
Are you talking about that or later?
No, later.
Oh,
later.
interesting.
Yeah. So like this was right around the time of it was pre-tempered tuning, but it's still like where we were using Pythagorean modes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's a whole other show.
Right. This is the Renaissance period, though. Where
Is,
the Lydian scale
is there
was
any song that you guys don't have in the memory bank? Well, between the two of us,
God,
I mean,
there's
there's
a lot of
plenty.
them.
And there's plenty that we just don't remember. Actually, there was an ELO song I wanted to mention that gives me a really rainy feel, but I can't remember which song. It's got this at the very beginning, and it's a Les Paul front. It's very muted, but wait, why is that not very muted? Oh, that must. Sorry. There's this little single, da, 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 and this is there's a guitar intro. It's gonna come to me later tonight. It's gonna drive me nuts. But
This song.
Oh, very Lydian.
And it was a look, man. Am I in the right key?
No, yes,
yeah.
you're exactly right. Now here's what happens usually in pop and rock music. I'm gonna give you two examples of a Lydian moment, if I may. So Here Comes My Girl by Tom Petty. It's this A major chord. And then this A major triad, these 3 strings are going to just shift up 2 frets.
This is a Broadway thing. Like, this is used in Broadway all the time.
But that's very Lydian. Why is it Lydian? Well, because of that note. Think about it. If we're in the key of A, 1, A, then we keep going, 9, 10, 11. Well, the sharp 11 would be that note there. So when we hear that note over this A major chord, or in the key of A, if you will, it's very Lydian. But the payoff is so is Here Come My Girl, is it in A Lydian? Is that the key? No, because what happens is we do this, Tom's kind of mumbling for a while, and a little
closer.
Here comes my girl. Here comes my girl. So what happens is what we've been hearing all along is A major.
We've been toggling 4 to 5.
And B major.
Yeah.
But we hadn't heard the 1 chord, the tonic chord yet. It had been sort of tucked away. So yes, we are hearing A Lydian, but ultimately the song finally falls into E major. And by the way, in the key of E major,
Those are both diatonic chords.
it's a totally diatonic note.
Yeah.
So what we were hearing was the E major scale being used with the 4 chord and the 5 chord. But another song that does this in the key of G, we hear the 4 chord and the 5 chord over and over again. And it feels very Lydian.
Ethan would be proud of us right now.
Yeah. So because we're hearing the F sharp in this D chord, when it seems like C major seems to have been there, but then what happens is, obviously we eventually get to the 1 chord of G. If you believe, we're the man on the moon, man on the moon. So that's a real good rock pop trick where we hear a chord, then we hear a Lydian move from that chord, and there's a mysterious kind of magical thing happening. And then eventually it moves to what is revealed as the 1 chord all along.
Yeah, and
I hope that was clear.
If you look at the function of this, right? So this is really, B is the 5 of E. E, F, G, A, B. B is the 5. So we have A, the 4, B, the 5 with the 7th in the bass.
Yeah.
So it's like this big toggle of the 5 chord leading to 1.
Yes.
And that's really what's happening in Man on the Moon as well. So it's like this big tension maker. But in the acute tonicization of those chords,
it is cute.
it's
Sorry.
it's the Lydian.
Oh.
It's the Lydian mode being tonicized. Tonicized.
Can I have some gin with that? Sip Smith, if you have it.
Tonicization. If you're a preacher.
Oh, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's kind of now. Michael Sturm says we used to watch The Twilight Zone with no volume, and put on Dark Side of the Moon playing on rainy days. Were you raised by Dave Lynch?
Dude, I'm into
Michael,
it.
or anything like
I'm
that?
so into it.
With whom did you do this?
Yeah.
Is it because of the last name? Storms?
I'm into it, Mike.
Are you in the Addams Family, Michael?
I'm ready for it, Mike.
Right. I
really
your
like
style,
the
Mike.
idea.
I like that. I love
and
the
then
idea.
you get the pizza with special mushrooms on it.
Oh.
Okay. But okay, so I got something else. Can
Go
I
ahead, please?
do
Yeah,
another one?
I have time.
So do you know the song? Sorry. So country progressions that have 1 flat 7 4 or what's called the backdoor turnaround. For me, these are like the rainy day type of sounds of country.
Okay.
Because there's something reflective in this progression where it does. And there's a ton of songs. This could be I'm going home, gonna get my shotgun. I don't remember the songs.
I don't.
Crazy yet.
Is that last name?
Bashed me around and I took me like a rag doll. Gunpowder and lead.
Gotcha.
Gunpowder and lead. I don't know why, but there's a ton of songs to do this. That progression is like one of the ways I feel like country does introspection. Is this like kind of this delaying?
It's that flat 7.
It's the flat 7 sound.
That's
yeah.
a huge one.
And it's so like you could hear people put these sort of contemplative devices in music, and I feel like that's what rainy day music is really about. It's about contemplation. And
right.
How does harmony or notes, how do they sort of evoke contemplation?
This is the thing. So now I don't normally speak in Miranda Lambert, by the way. Yeah.
Miranda Lambert.
Which, by the way,
for 1,000.
One of the most fun people on the planet. Love her band. Love all those guys. And I was blanking on that title. I'm embarrassed now.
But you recognize the song, though.
I did.
Yeah.
I'm just counting on the fact that Miranda doesn't watch this show.
Miranda's not going to be.
I hope not. So
she's probably watching the Twilight Zone.
We did it. We played a show in Dublin, and it was raining. Miranda, we did. I do associate Miranda with rain a little bit. I don't speak that mystically about music. I'm not against it. It's just not my habit. I think maybe because I've done some film composing, or I've done writing, or sometimes, or I'm supposed to like play a guitar part on a song, and you're asked. Sometimes a producer may ask you, "Can you make this sound like it's raining?"
Sure.
And you just have like a telly,
tone painting,
and a little Fender tube amp, and thinking, sure,
absolutely, I could do that.
No, you're right. By the way, delay and reverbs and things like that, we can do that. But I'm more interested in the note choices and intervals and some of these things, because I have to rely on some sort of data. So I'm sorry, but hard facts, so I can hopefully get this sound that they're suggesting. And so yes, I might go a bit Lydian. I might do something I might use minor 7th chords or major 7th chords, or spell that out over, even if the song just has regular. Let's say it's that if my solo, maybe I will do something a little outside, but how do I be reflective when that's the progression? I might play a B natural, which belongs to that first chord, but when he goes to the F major, I might refer to that B natural again.
Get that four.
So go ahead and play the progression. So now this B natural note. See how I use that B natural over the F? I wasn't shying away from it. So that kind of, in fact, that reminded me of "Can't You See" by Marshall Tucker.
It did.
So they must have done that. I just realized when I did that. Oh, Lewis Thomas is watching. Oh boy, now I feel like a jerk, because Lewis is from Germany. He probably knows a lot about rain. A great guitar player.
What part of Germany? Like Bavaria?
No. Well, it's so funny. We talked about this, but Munich, I believe, because we've both played at the Rattlesnake Saloon quite a bit. Anyway. Tell Lewis, who's a fabulous guitar player.
Hi, Lewis.
Tell him about this guitar. This is Dylan's guitar, and
that guitar
passed through in the family.
Let's see. It's a 72 Telly Deluxe, and it was my uncle's guitar, and it was bequeathed to me. And it has original Lawler pickups in it, so the actual wound.
Wait a minute. Original Lawler pickups?
Well, because there's there's a lot of things that say Lawler on it now that may not be.
Okay, but these aren't the original pickups that were in 72.
No.
Okay, now I understand.
Yeah, I think 76 is the Lawler period of time.
So Lawler pickups were being put in Fender guitars by 76.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, and then other than that, I mean, it's completely, unchanged.
Wait a minute. Don't I remember there being a B-bender on this?
No, you're thinking of another one. I have another 72 Telly with the B-bender on it.
I just looked at it right now. I was like,
you're like, hold on there. This is missing a B-bender.
I thought maybe I got regarding Henried. And I got,
you were getting
maybe
cigarettes.
I got hit on the way
I was
here.
out getting cigarettes.
And I forgot everything. I like making that a predicate for some reason.
So what you were talking about is tone painting, right?
I'm talking about tone painting, people.
Painting. So this is the idea of we have this consensus, whether we're aware of it or not, that certain sounds evoke certain emotions, physical spaces. They evoke these kind of, this is like the kind of shared spirituality aspect of music where.
Here's a song I'm obsessed with. I mentioned all the time on the show, but think of in Telephone Line, which also pretty much rips off something in a way. The verse, when he gets that word lonely, he does so A major, hello, how are you? Have you been all right? He's on A dominant 7. Through all those lonely nights. When he repeats lonely, he needs something melodically there to really, really underscore this thing. And so he uses this half diminished chord to get to his two minor chord, basically.
Yeah, right.
Classic jazz move at that point. But it really, really, he's already saying lonely. And then the fourth time is lonely, it hits that chord and the ache the dissonance of that
increases.
Chord, it just twists the knife there. And when we're listening to music, sometimes you're like, why does this music do this to me? Why does this music, why is this part of the song just kill me every time? And look, you could have an emotional trigger, of course, you might be associated with something, but beyond that, sometimes there's just a melodic move mixed with a lyric, or just a melodic move and there's no lyric that it was designed to do this to you.
Well, and it's been employed that way so many times by writers, by songwriters, by so this tool of tension, right? Whether it's a diminished chord or not, it's just been employed as a tension tool for so long.
I love you even more than I did before.
Absolutely.
But darling, what can I do?
Which is minor 4 chords. So that's been employed forever as a way to emphasize some sort of cadence in music, right? An emotional cadence.
Correct.
Point. But that's also in a. Blame it all. Anyways, you get the point. So the tension points.
Right. The tension in Friends in Low Places is that he's
trying to explain his friends.
He's a beer guy at a wine bar, basically. Sort of
he's saying, look,
I'm a fish out of water, and something's probably going to go sideways here.
Absolutely.
I always thought it was cool that the songwriter used a classic Western cowboy music change for that song. I think we've done an episode on that song. I feel like I've talked about the song quite a bit. But I was at the time I thought, I thought just maybe the song was overplayed. But I did like the song. But it took me a while to figure out that I didn't appreciate that there was a classic, basically jazz change still happening in country music.
Yeah.
As late as the early 90s.
I bet it's approach to the 2 chord. So that's pretty nasty.
It's constant. I mean, all the Mills Brothers and the Ink Spot songs all do that. But
exactly.
A lot of the cowboy stuff
This was everywhere.
So somebody got, Michael again, we're talking to Michael a lot here. He just got a guitar with P90s, different color to paint with. That's very, very true. By the way, Michael, may I suggest use the pickups in ways that are rather unorthodox. And just a real quick tip, use the neck pickup in your P90 guitar, but pick way back here at the bridge. And notice there's a cool hollow, kind of a hollow body, weird twang thing that's kind of very vintagey. Or use your bridge P90 and pick like even over the neck, if you will, and just keep experimenting with where you're picking, you get a lot of tone range without affecting the EQ, without even touching a knob. You can control a lot there, so have fun with that. Anything else before we let these people get back to their lives?
No, you know what? I think it's the rainy music thing. It's like rainy days are one of the best times to pick up a guitar and just play it.
By the way, if I had one, it would be a nylon string every time. Wow. On a rainy day. I gotta get off my butt and get a nylon string.
You don't have a nylon string?
I don't.
Wow.
I just don't know. I don't own one.
Wow.
I don't know what I don't know.
Everybody should have. There's been a lot of discussions about how many guitars should you have going on, especially in the Fender Play Facebook.
Oh, gotcha.
And it's like my little 2 cents was, I think if you're even semi-pro, you want every type of the major categories. You want
list the major categories.
So we need Strat.
Wait, hold on. Let's start with acoustics.
Okay, so you need
steel string,
nylon,
and a nylon string. Those are the 2 acoustics you should probably have.
You really just kind of need both of those.
Going electric now.
I think you're gonna need 3, but you could get away with 2. So you could either have a Strat and a Les Paul, or you could have a Tele and a Les Paul. I would prefer Strat. If I had to pick between the 2, Strat's more versatile to me.
Okay,
but I think you need Strat, Tele, and Les Paul personally.
Right,
I really do.
And when we say Les Paul, let's make that a subcategory of essentially a 2 humbucker,
a solid body.
Yeah. Well, no, I would go. I'd happily have a 335 in lieu of a Les Paul. Yeah. It's really about having those humbucker pickups in both neck and
that
bridge
compression
position.
rate of that sound. So you want that thing that, like, Les Pauls have this deal where they just don't put out that much dynamic variability. They record really well
because they're just
right in the middle.
Exactly. All right, everybody. How many guitars does a guitar player need? Just one more. Just one more. Marilee, I don't want to hear from you. You have plenty of guitars.
Marilee.
By the way, it's also just think of it. If here's the analogy I've used over the years is wardrobe. One should have a gray suit, a navy suit, a black suit. Ladies, you probably have at least one cocktail dress, a gown. There's staples. There's basically staples, right? Yeah. And in fact, there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad fashion. Take that one. All right, going out with what? What do you want to go out with here?
Let's see.
I put him on the spot.
So,
just keep playing. Are you trying to remember lyrics? Is this Dan Fogelberg?
Yeah. How'd you know that?
I don't know. Even though I ain't got. Is that the right key?
I think it's the wrong key.
All right.
Is that the wrong key?
No, sir. D major.
So it's. Yeah, that's the right key. So
recall.
I can't remember it.
Ain't got money. I'm so in love with you. Now you can play it. I don't have perfect pitch, but my relative pitch is so strong it seems like it. So yeah, The Reach is a favorite for bad weather, says Jim K. There you go. All right, people. Next week, I'm flying to New York, formerly New Amsterdam, and so we won't have a show, but we should have one after.
Yeah, I'm doing Godspell that's touring through town all this weekend next week. So
go see Dylan and Godspell.
It's a lot of guitar. There's a ton of guitar in there if you want.
That's not Andrew Lloyd Webber. Who wrote the music for Godspell?
Stephen Schwartz.
That's right. Exactly. All right, everybody. We'll see you. Hi, Smokey Robinson. Hi, Miranda. How do I get us out of here? Oh, I don't know. You